Shabbos.
Oh man, the stutter is going on. Oh, wow. Whoever made it. Yeah, we're good. Yeah. Yeah, we'll order it. No, but I think we're good. Look at the one doing no juice. What? Yeah, we're good. Let me just get this set up. Hey, Angela, how are you doing? Good job. There's a pick in there somewhere. I hear it. Start or just
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Shabbat Shalom. Good to
Shabbat
have
Shalom,
you here.
Rabbi.
We are going to turn and begin our service with on page 142 with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem.
Why not?
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem LeShalom, Malachi HaShalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni LeShalom Malachi HaShalom Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zeitechem לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלאכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We'll turn back now to page 100. I got it. Let me sure I had. We'll turn back a couple pages to page 138. Shabbat is a time for us to gather, and a time for us to reflect, a time for us to also celebrate and be joyful. And that is what Chadodi is about, is a time for love and celebration. We're going to sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
לך דודי לקרא קלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, בני שבת לקבלה. שמור וזכור ודיבור אחד, איש שמיינו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם. נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, בני שבת לקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי, אורי. שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, בני שבת לקבלה.
We'll rise in body or in spirit and face the entrance as we greet Shabbat. Verse 9.
בואי ושלום, עטרת בלגן בשמחה, ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקרא קלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Well, you may be seated. You want to do 140 or you want to go to 144? Good. We'll turn page 140 for Psalm 92.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. ברכתני אדוני בפעליך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שילי יום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. At the bottom of the page, צדיקת עמרי יפרח, כארז בלבנון ישגה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. אור ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי, ולא עברת בו.
Page 144.
Shalom aleichem malachim, Yitkadah v'yikadash. I thought the pages stuck together. Yitkadah v'yikadash shemei lavan,
Amen.
v'yalmad yivrach chilutei, v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uchayenecho beit Yisrael, bagala, bagala, ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עולמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח, ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה.
Rehu.
בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה ואמרו
Light candles. Oh, this time we will bring in some light into our Shabbos with the lighting of our candles. And let's see, I'll pick somebody. Mara, do you want to come help me up here? Come on up. I'll pick on you. Come on up here. I always love seeing kids at our service. You good with matches? All right, I'll do that part.
Put your thumb on page 144 and you can turn back to 120 for Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Thanks, Mara. Love seeing you here, and good to have you here. Did your mom want to say anything at all, or is she good? No? Okay. Sounds good. Give me the thumbs up. We are going to turn now to page 146 for our call to worship, Baruch Hu. I'll invite you to rise in body or in spirit. You may be seated. We'll turn now to page 148. Let's read the translation of the Mari Varavim together. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness, and darkness from light, transforming day into night, distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבי.
Amen. 150.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אתה, תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת, על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ויורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה, באהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד, ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם amen.
When we stood on the parted shores of history, ready to cross over from persecution into an oppression to freedom, we learned that when the sea split, all the people of Israel rushed across. And nobody was really left behind. That could only be possible if they helped one another. We can only assume with hundreds of thousands of people that there were some who were able-bodied and some who had maybe conditions that made it difficult for them to cross over that wet sand onto the other side of the sea. And yet they were able to get to the other side and find a place of freedom. Why? Because they joined hands and they pulled each other across together. And so, had we not done that, our entire people would not have made it to freedom. And certainly, some of their descendants would not be here today, and our people would be lacking. It's important to always look at who is holy in our community and how we can carry them into a better tomorrow. Page 158, Michamocha.
Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedra b'kodesh, Nora tehilot Tosefele, Nora tehilot Tosefele. Malachotecha ra'u banecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe, Ze'elianu ve'yamru, Ze'elianu ve'yameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Page 160, Hashkivenu.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום ויעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום ויעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ותקננו ביצה טובה מלפניך והושיענו למען שמך השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ויעמידנו שומרינו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, ויעמידנו שומרינו לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים.
Page 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We are going to rise in body or in spirit for the Amidah, page 164.
Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, sefatai tiftach, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibur ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevii Geula livnei v'neihem, למען שמו ויהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, בחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, תומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מחי
page 180, or you can use this as an opportunity for your own prayers and reflections. And when you're finished, you may be seated.
עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen.
This time we'll turn our thoughts to those who are in need of healing of the mind, body, and spirit, and those in a period of recovery as well. And we can turn to page 371 for a prayer for healing, the Mishabera.
Strength, oh bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say amen.
This week we think of these members of our community and their loved ones who could use a prayer for healing. Gittel Leah bat Masha Hannah, Byron Yisrael ben Rachel, Baruch ben Sarah, Ikafega bat Gittel, Gila Chaya bat Mordechai le Gilea, Tova Chava bat Chaya Rochel, Tzvi ben Benjamin, Rachel Liba bat Moshe Menachem Mendel v'Gittel, Gittel bat Bela, Sarah Bell, Lois Dobrin, Angela Eno, good to see you, Martin Goffin, Fran Lappin, Tanner Light, Megan Magleby, Penny Spector, Adina Stern, Michael Winston, and Judy Wolf. And if you have a name to add, when I look in your direction, you can share with our community. Thanks, Nancy. Yeah. Hey, you too. Pete? Susie? Danny? And if you're watching our live stream, I'll invite you to share a name as well.
מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Thank you, Cantor. Shabbat Shalom. It's a big news week for a lot of reasons this week. First of all, we got to see in this hostage deal, first 3 hostages return home on this past Sunday, which was wonderful to see them reunite with their families. And supposedly 4 more will be returning tomorrow. And one of the young women who lost a couple of her fingers on October 7th came home with her hand bandaged up and kept doing this, and that's now become a sign in Israel of heroism and strength in turning adversity into something inspiring. And also, of course, big news story this week here in the U.S. is that President Trump was inaugurated for the second time, being only the second president in American history to serve non-consecutive terms. But quick trivia question for you on presidential inaugurations. Which president or presidents have taken the oath of office for President of the United States the most number of times? Ooh, so one of you guys you got one right away. What's the obvious one? Roosevelt. And who took the oath of office how many times? 4. And anybody know the second one? Who also took the oath of office 4 times? Barack Obama, actually. Because the first time he took it, Justice Roberts flubbed the words, and so he was worried. They were worried that people would say that his presidency was illegitimate, and so he took it a second time later that day. Then when he was reelected, he was sworn in on a Sunday, and they said, just again, so people don't say it's illegitimate because federal offices are closed Sunday, we'll have you take it on Monday again before you show up to work. So Barack Obama is the other president who has said the oath of office for President of the United States 4 times. So Barack Obama did it 4 times because of a technicality. Why did Franklin Roosevelt get sworn in 4 times? He was elected 4 times. We didn't have term limits back then. He was elected 4 times. And Franklin Roosevelt, while certainly there were a lot of things in his presidency that history has not judged favorably, like the internment of Japanese Americans, Franklin Roosevelt is generally regarded as one of the best presidents in United States history. He is consistently ranked the 3rd best president in the country after, in most polls, after Abraham Lincoln being ranked first in most polls, and George Washington being ranked second in most historian polls. And on an average of historian polls, actually, in 2000, FDR got ranked second with Washington third. But most polls put him at number 3. And what's interesting, though, also about Franklin Roosevelt, is that he was our only president to serve in office while being wheelchair bound. Because as a child, he contracted polio and spent the rest of his life in a wheelchair, which a lot of Americans, even during his presidency, didn't know, because he was rarely photographed in his wheelchair. Now today, with everything being on camera, it would be a lot more apparent. However, the very first presidential debate didn't occur, televised presidential debate didn't occur until 1960, which was part of the reason that John F. Kennedy beat Richard Nixon, is everyone saw Richard Nixon pouring sweat and looking disheveled, while Kennedy was charismatic, attractive, young, and had a good TV presence to him. And so the question that historians often ask is, had we had televised debates in the day of Franklin Roosevelt, would he potentially have never been elected president? And would we have missed out on one of our best presidents because people would have judged him less favorably for having a disability? And I think oftentimes, as a society, we can overlook or dismiss folks who have disabilities. I'll admit I've probably done that in my own lifetime. In fact, I remember growing up, going to synagogue. We had a high holiday choir, and there was this young man who had intellectual disabilities, and he kind of stood up with the choir, and he always looked a bit disheveled, and would do this the whole service, or wander around, and I would ask, what is he doing up there? And I remember asking my dad, who told me, I think he's probably one of the other choir members' kids, and so he needs to be up there too. And with them, I went, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then during the high holidays, it came time for a solo, and the rabbi called Jacob up to the bima, and Jacob kind of walked on up and stuff, and we were like, all right, we'll see how this goes. He opened his mouth. He had the most incredible voice anybody had ever heard. Anybody had ever heard. He was the star of the choir, and we had no idea because we had prejudged him. And I'm so grateful. Hearing Jacob sing became the highlight of my high holidays at Temple Beth Am in Seattle every single year, was getting to hear Jacob sing. And I'm so glad that my rabbi didn't dismiss him, but rather saw his talents. Because I've sadly heard stories of people who've gone to church or gone to synagogue who have a disability and nobody says hi to them, or nobody includes them. And that's painful. Not only for that person, but perhaps we as a Jewish community are missing out. In fact, it even says in the Torah that certain physical disabilities exclude you from being able to be part of the priesthood, or certainly being the high priest. And so when Herod rose to office, to power, as king of Judea over about 2,000 years ago, he was very suspicious of everyone, and including the high priest. He had the high priest's ears cut off because that was one of the blemishes that would disqualify him as high priest, so that he could eliminate his competition. And you might notice that very often when I'm leading services, I'll say, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit. The reason I do that is so that folks who might not be able to physically stand feel seen and included. Now, why I bring all this up is because in our Torah portion, we have Moses standing up to Pharaoh for the first time by Erev. And Moses was not who you would assume would be the prophet of the people of Israel and be our hero. He was 80 years old at the time, and he was 80 years old, and also Moses had a stutter, and even told God, I can't be a prophet because I stutter. You got to pick somebody else. And God said, that's not a problem. That's not what I'm looking for. Is that I don't need to have the most articulate person up there, but rather I need to have a person who has a devout heart and a strong personality. And okay, you have a flaw. Somebody else can speak up, be your mouthpiece. Your brother Erev can speak on your behalf. And throughout my rabbinate, I've gotten to meet incredible people who have contributed in amazing ways to the Jewish community. A few years back, some of you might have been here, we still have a deaf student in our religious school who goes to the Utah School for the Blind and Deaf. And this student communicates only through American Sign Language. Now, one of my flaws is that I don't know American Sign Language, which made it difficult for me to communicate with this student. And so I put out there, I was trying to teach this student, which was going okay, but had its challenges. I put out on the Central Conference of American Rabbis Facebook group, anybody got any tips for me? And immediately, colleague after colleague after colleague after colleague of mine said, call Rabbi Rebecca Dubow. I don't know Rabbi Rebecca Dubow. Who's Rabbi Rebecca Dubow? They said, she's a rabbi in Illinois, and she is deaf and communicates with American Sign Language. So I did. And Rabbi Dubow was able to take over teaching this student and actually flew out here to co-officiate the bat mitzvah with me. And it wouldn't have come to fruition had I not had Rabbi Dubow as a colleague, or had my rabbinical school said, she's deaf, she can't be a rabbi. By seeing something in her and not letting that disability limit her, the Reform movement in Judaism said not only is she capable of being a rabbi, she could be the rabbi that someone like this student in Salt Lake City needs in order to be Jewish and to have a strong connection to Judaism. And her disability might not be a disadvantage, might be an asset for our people. And perhaps, had God not seen that in Moses, we would still be slaves in the land of Egypt today. So what I would like to encourage everyone, something we can take from our Torah portion this week, and when we look back at American history, or even within the history of our own Jewish community here, is to try and see the abilities of every person, regardless of what their limitations may be. Look for ways in which every person can contribute to our Jewish community. Because ultimately that is something that we read throughout the book of Exodus, is that every Jew has something to contribute to their institution, to their community. Every Jew, because all of us are created in God's image, has something to contribute. And if we can see that, then that is how we are able to build not only a holier community, but the best version of our community that it can be. Shabbat Shalom. I want to thank you, Cantor, for leading services with me, and I want to thank security for being here this evening. I also like to always acknowledge our staff that I see here, Lana Stoddard, our communications director. If you change your mind about saying something, let me know. And Danny Berman, our executive director, as well as Galit Livney, our program coordinator, who I think is in the kitchen right now, along with Danny's daughter and son-in-law cooking dinner for us. Looking forward to that. And I also see from our Board of Trustees, Faye Lincoln. Did I miss any board members? I never want to. Sometimes I do by accident, it's never intentional. Faye, would you care to make some announcements for us about great upcoming events in our community?
Go ahead, put it right there first. Thanks, Faye.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Oops,
Shabbat
excuse me.
Shalom.
A special thank you to Rabbi Spector and Cantor Davis for leading us this evening, and a special thank you to Alana Berman, Fito Torres Mora, and Julia Oliveira for preparing our dinner, and to our volunteers for helping to set up and clean up for this evening. I really want to thank everybody here for the turnout, especially not for just Shabbat services, but for the Peruvian dinner tonight. And as a part of the ongoing activities, the synagogue really tries to incorporate some of these cultural events for dinner along with the service. So thank you for joining us tonight. If you RSVP'd in advance for a Shabbat dinner, please join us in the social hall following the conclusion of the service. If not, we hope you will register for our dinner in the shul next month. Join Cantor Davis tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. for an informal gathering of guitar players, folk singers, and like-minded souls at Colomi's Song Circle. This Sunday at noon, all are invited to a casting spell for our Purim spiel, The Zion King. I think that's a great title. We need actors, singers, and on-stage and backstage help. Contact the Cantor for more details. Next Saturday, join us as Odin Kirkham takes the bima as a bar mitzvah. Other events to mark on your calendars include the Colomigos Men's Club kickoff event. Donuts and Dads and non-dads will be held on February 2nd at 9 a.m. A lot of these activities, by the way, are in your program. The Religious Schools Jewish Camp Fair will be on February 2nd at noon. Our pre-Purim Bake and Sip event is on February 6th. And join us on February 7th for Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of singing. Tad Shabbat is at 5 p.m. Family Shabbat dinner will be at 5:30, followed by a special Shabbat Shirah service at 6:30 p.m. And our Tu B'Shvat Seder is on February 12th. Purim begins the evening of March 13th. We're looking for people again to join the Purim committee to help make the holiday a success. Please reach out to Galit. And Mitzvah Day is quickly coming up on March 23rd. If you're interested in joining the committee, leading an activity, or just being involved, contact Matt Weinstein. And as always, we're grateful to all of our members, volunteers, donors, and guests for your participation and support. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks, Faye. Appreciate you and your leadership. We are going to move into the concluding part of our service, page 586 at the bottom of the page with Elenu. I'll invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר וראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא שמו ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. At this time, we think of those whom death has recently taken from us, and those who've died in this season in years past, and those who we draw into our hearts with our own as we remember them. If you hear hear the name of a loved one, I'll invite you to rise upon hearing their name. This weekend concludes Shloshim for Shirley Furman, mother of Danny Furman. Danny, as you conclude Shloshim, I hope you know how much we care about you and support you. And also Susan Sway, sister of Neil Kaplan, and Vladimir Weisberg, a local Jewish person laid to rest in our cemetery. And also we think of all those in the past 30 days who lost their lives either as a result of terror or in defense of the state of Israel. And this week we commemorate the following yortzites, anniversary of the passing of these loved ones: Mark Falk, Ivy Bell Baser, Jacob Bergman, Libby Bonsick, Theodore Chesler, Tim Dahlquist, Esther Ellman, Carrie Finkelstein, Jack Gerson, Nathan Gilman, Eleanor Winkler Goldklang, Leo Grossman, Melvin Hirschman, Dee Hoffman, Howard Landa, Audrey Markowitz, Samuel S. Matz, Hattie Nathan, Arthur Neumer, Milton Pepper, Rana Levy, A. Wally Sandak, Abraham Shochet, Bertha Siegel, Lauren Woodbury, and Hasia Yufit. And if you have a name to add, I'll invite you to share. I'll look in your direction. Sue? My condolences on your loss. And if you are watching our live stream, I'll invite you to share your name as well. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. If you're in mourning, or it is your tradition, do so. You are invited to rise and bow your in spirit. We are on page 598. Say these words. Yikadal v'yikadash shemer ba.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yirtei v'yimlich malchutei. Chayechon v'yimechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru.
Amen.
Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'alam olomei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh. Yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha.
Brichu.
Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tish v'chata v'ne'emata. Da'am yiram be'alma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. Lechaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Osei shalom b'mromav. Huyasei shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Amen. And may the source of peace and peace to all in mourning comfort the bereaved among us. We will conclude. Do we have a concluding song, Cantor?
Yeah, sure.
What would you like?
It's always a concluding
It's always got to be a concluding song. What are you thinking?
How about we turn to Adon Olam?
Sure. That's on 625.
625.
625.
Adon Olam asher malach beterem kol yetzir nivra lied nasa bechefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra v'acharei hiklot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hove v'hu yiyeh בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשיל לו להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואל Adonai li velo ira.
I'll invite you to rise, fire and spirit, page 122, for Kiddush.
ויכולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויכול אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות צברים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. L'chaim Tovim. And we have here a challah, and I will crack that open for us. And let us.
It's made by our good friend Joe.
Maybe give our good friend Joe. He's kind of a traitor, but he's all
He's a
right.
traitor.
All right, so let's join together.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
If you're under the age of 12, please come up here for some challah.
If you're over 12, you can.
If you're over 12, you can also come up for some challah. We'll see you in the social hall in a few minutes.
If you are 12 or over